So in the spring of 2020, all of us were engaged in education in one way or another. Teacher educators, teacher union organizing, teacher research. And for me too, like you, I had two seniors, right? So I had in the spring of 20, both of my daughters were seniors in high school. I was also about to teach a class to 300 students, 300 undergrads. The university gave me a week to take that class online. So we were all talking to one another and talking about our own lived realities and about the teachers' work that we were observing through our children, through their own Zoom meetings they were having with their schools. And we thought something really big is happening this spring. And we originally conceptualized of the study, that we conceived of the study as we were going to capture this moment in time, this disruption in the spring of 2020, what happened and how teachers coped. We did not initially realize that we would be doing a longitudinal study that would last 2.5 years and follow teachers through many phases of this COVID response. So we thought we'd like to talk to teachers. So the first thing we did was push an intake survey out into the world and ask if there were some teachers who would be willing to talk to us about what was happening in their local communities and how they were coping. And within 2 days, we had over 750 teachers responded from over 40 US states. And we were a bit surprised by we had to shut the survey off actually because we thought we can't possibly talk to 750 teachers. We'd been hoping for about 25. So then we thought, well, how do we decide who to talk to? And decided that we wanted to try and vary the context of where teachers were teaching. We're mostly sociologists at heart, and we wanted to understand the possibility of differences in where teachers were situated. So we thought, well, what could be different for teachers? Well, one thing that could be different for teachers is how prevalent COVID was where they were right then. Right. In some places like New York City, COVID was a very big crisis already in the spring of 20. But in some places that we were in the country, there wasn't really any COVID cases at all. So we thought, well, that would probably make a difference. So we'll vary based on the incidence of COVID with high rates, median rates, and low rates of COVID. Then we thought, well, how about relative union strength? Maybe in strong union states, things might be different. The response might be different than in medium, than in weaker union situations. So we chose 9 states. So we actually started by first choosing the states we would look at, and then we sought out teachers within those states to follow an interview. And for that, we looked for variation in grade levels that they were teaching at, subject matter they taught, whether they were in urban, rural, suburban school districts. And we then found teachers in each of those states who would interview. By chance, we ended up with a sample that mirrors the US national teaching sample. Actually, it looks just like it in terms of gender, race, urban, rural, and suburban. So then 75 teachers, we interviewed them and surveyed them several times a year for all of the time. And quite remarkably, all of the teachers stayed with us through the study. And that was also a very unexpected thing. I feel like we journeyed through the pandemic with 75 teachers spread across 9 US states. And we were very honored and privileged actually to get insights into these teachers' worlds really during the pandemic. And the whole study was done by Zoom, of course, right? So here we were holed up in our own homes in a Zoom kind of quarantine situation. And we would get on a Zoom call and I would suddenly be in a Manhattan studio with a teacher whose partner is also a teacher who's in their walk-in closet teaching a class while she's, doing an interview with us. And then would get off that call and I would Zoom across the country and I'd suddenly be in an Iowa farmhouse. So we were traveling by Zoom throughout the pandemic.